Valerie Hector, and in this video I'm going to show you how to zip your Zahah. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's a Zahah. It has 3 faces rendered in green beads, and it has 3 spines rendered in the red beads here. Zipping your Zahah means adding these red beads here, zipping up the sides, kind of like a zipper, okay? Fast, easy, it's just right angle weave. You can reinforce while you're zipping up the spines, or you can reinforce after, either way, okay? Now, what kind of beads are you going to use for a Zahah? In my experience, what works best is spherical beads, okay? Not beads shaped like pancakes. They'll work, but flat beads don't render a beautiful crisp Zahah. These are 4mm check fire polish beads, okay? Even though they're kind of ovalish, they still work. They still render a really nice Zahah. These are 2mm unoxidized sterling silver beads. Lightweight. The great thing about these sterling silver beads in 2mm, even 3mm, is that they're fairly lightweight, and if you're going to wear these as earrings, you want them to be light, right? Okay. And here are metal, American-made, apparently, metal seed beads, excuse me, with this fantastic pink enamel coating. These will work too. These are size, give me a second here, size 8. These are size 8 metal seed beads, okay? Now, where does everything begin? Everything begins by making 3 flat squares of right angle weave, the same number of square cells across as wide, okay? So this is a 6 by 6. There are 6 square cells across by 6 square cells wide. This is a 4 by 4. 4 square cells across, 4 square cells wide. And this is a 3 by 3, okay? So you can make your Zahahs in many sizes. In theory, you could even make a Zahah that's 1,000 square cells across by 1,000 square cells wide. What you would do with that, or what it would look like, you know, I don't know. You could also use wooden beads, okay? This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a giant Zahah that I made initially as a sample, you know, so you could see, and so I could see how the structure renders. Because the beads, the holes in in these wooden beads are large, you have to stitch more than you would stitch with, say, these tiny beads here, okay? So I want to move on to getting started. You'll see how easy this is. Go ahead and make your 3 squares, any number of beads across, any number of square cells across that you want, okay? And in the next video, we're going to start zipping our Zahah. Okay, before we start beading, I want to draw the thread path of the North Pole for you. This is the North Pole that my colleague and friend Ellen Marshall developed, that she loves. In previous videos, I've taught you to make a separate, independent 3-bead North Pole and attach it then to the faces. That technique works very well, and this also works. So we're going to try a new way here, okay? The pink beads represent beads that we're adding, okay? There are 6 altogether. There are 3 faces, face 1, face 2, face 3, and all we're ever doing is forming squares, squares, squares here, and then we're sealing up a triangle that enclosing the Arctic Circle, okay? So this whole thing is the North Pole. This whole diagram represents the North Pole, and this represents the Arctic Circle, okay? You're going to begin by inserting your needle through this bead here, the top right bead, in any face. It doesn't matter which face, any face works well for a start, okay? So let me draw the thread path for you, okay? And here's my pen. Okay, let's label this face 1. Let's label this face 2. This will be face 3. So our needle is coming up here, right? We're going to add bead A. Go down through bead 2. Add bead B. Go up through bead 1. Go over to A again. Go down through 2. Drop down to 3. Go up to 4. Go up to 5. Then add bead C. Go from C to 6. From 6, add bead D. From D, go through 5. Cross over to C, cross over to 6. Can you guess where we're going next? You're right, through 7. Cross over to 8. Go up through 9. Add bead E. From bead E, go to bead 10. From 10, add bead F. From F, go back through 9, go back through E, go back through 10, down through 11, over to 12, up through 1. Okay, great. Now all 3 sides are attached, okay, and they're secure, but we need to close up the Arctic Circle, okay? So we're going to come out of 1, go back through A, then go through C, then go through E, go back through A. And I would honestly do this a couple times, 2, 3, 4 times actually, just to make sure that the Arctic Circle is really tight, okay? So that's it, and we're done, okay? And in the next video, we're going to bead this. I'm using really tiny beads, but I think you'll be able to see, especially with the help of this diagram here, okay? See you in the next video. Okay, let's get started beading the North Pole. When we're done, this is what it will look like here. Okay, beautiful, symmetrical, perfectly formed. Very tight, too, so it won't fall apart, okay? Now, as I said in the last video, we're putting our needle up through this bead here, okay? And we're going to pull, okay? Add 1 bead. String it down. Set that face down. That's face 1. Put face 2 next to it, okay? Make the tips, bring the tips close to one another. This is the tip here. This is another tip here, okay? So all we're going to do is we're going to go down through this bead, this bead right here, okay? Pick up face number 2 and go down through that bead, just that bead. Okay, and then pull. And I'm going to do this slowly here, so hopefully you can see. I'm putting the beads against a white background so that it's easier to see, okay? So, but starting slowly with the North Pole is good. Just move slowly, okay? Now we're going to add this bead here, add 1 bead, okay? And go up through the bead we originally came up through here, okay? All right, and then pull. Yeah, that's fine. Let me pull them apart so you can see what we formed here. It's just a square. We're forming a square, okay? All we're going to be forming with the North Pole is squares, okay? So let's pull them together and see what it looks like right now. This is the start of spine number 1, okay? Now, I see that we've got a little kinked thread here, so I'm going to try tighten it if I can, slowly, okay? Yeah, that's looking good, okay? And now we're going to go down through, go over through the first bead we added, okay? And then we're going to go down through this bead here. Okay. And now we want to cross over, we want to navigate over to a position on this side of the face 2 so that we can add face 3. So how are we going to do that? Turn, go through this bead here, somewhat full of thread. Ooh, rather full of thread. Okay, it's all right. We'll get through it. You know what's great about these sterling beads is they never they pretty much almost never crack, no matter how much thread you try to put through them. They pretty much never crack. All right, that was a tough one, but we're doing it. All right, and now go through this bead. It's next door neighbor, okay? Also rather full of thread, but whatever. All right, now set this down. Great. Now we want to get in position, as I said, to add the third face. So we're going to go up through this bead, okay? And we're going to add one bead. Okay. Get the third face into position. See where it's going to fit in this equation, okay? We are going to go down through this bead here. Let me move this thread. Go down through this bead here, add another bead for spine 2, and go up through this bead here, okay? So let's do that. Excuse me. Okay. Gonna leave it a little bit loose just so you can see, get a better sense of what we're doing here. Add one bead. Go up through this bead here and pull. And I'm just gonna leave it loose for a second here so you can see what's going on. Okay, what are we forming here? Another square. Okay, and this is the start of spine 2. Now let's pull them all together. Slowly. Whoops. Got twisted somehow. Okay. All right. So that's what we look like now. Put it down again. All right, so we're going to I have to see where we are. Right. Okay, we're going to go back through the top bead in the second spine, right? And then go down through this bead. And then go over through this bead. Which also seems to be very full of thread. You know, one thing I should have told you, I think I forgot, is the more you reinforce the centers of these squares, of your first 3 squares here, your 3 faces, the tighter you make the interiors, the stiffer, the more well-formed your Zahah will be, okay? And I'm sorry I didn't think to mention that to you. But this is just your first Zahah. And in the future, you're going to make more. Okay, now we're going to go, where are we? Right. We're going over through this bead and go up through this bead. Okay. And now we need to yeah, that's correct. Okay, for a second there, I scared myself. All right, we're going to start forming spine 3. Okay, add one bead. Go down through this bead. All right, and so that's what this looks like. Now let's add one more bead to finish off spine 3. And then just form a square by going up through this bead. Okay, let's check out, see if we can see what that looks like. All right, now when we pull, the three faces will be connected, okay? I would, if I were making a real Zahah, I would go around, I would do what I just did several times, but for now, once is fine. What remains? There's a triangle in the middle that we call the Arctic Circle. You know, we've got to seal up the beads in the Arctic Circle. Now, how are we going to do that? Right, we're going to go through here. There is no set thread path for connecting the three beads in the Arctic Circle. Just connect them, okay? Go from one to the next. I would do it several times so that the Arctic Circle is nice and tight, because especially if you're going to make an earring, you want the Arctic Circle to be tight. All right. And there it is, okay? We have added 2 beads in each open area here. Those 2 beads start forming the spines, okay? And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to stitch up the spines. That's the easy and fun part. All the hard stuff is over, okay? I'll see you in the next video. Now comes the fun part, zipping your Zahah. See, where is the thread coming out? It's coming out from over here. So I'm going to work on this spine. Okay, we can call this spine 1. It doesn't matter. We need to get into position to start stitching up spine 1. We're coming out of a North Pole bead, an Arctic Circle bead here. So great. I'm going to stitch down through this bead here. Okay, and this is the top left bead in this face. All right, and pull. Great. Now let's cross over to going through the second bead in this spine. Call that spine 1. And all we're going to do from now on is create squares. Okay, so we're going down through this bead. Okay, pull. And when you get going at this, it can go very, very quickly. But for purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to go a little slowly. All right, great. Now what should we do? If we want to form a square, add another bead. Okay. And how do we form the square? We form it by going up through this bead here. Okay, just 1 bead, because there are only 4 beads in each square. Okay. Okay, there we go. Whoops, maybe I pulled that a little too tightly. That's all right. Okay, now we want to navigate over and go through this bead. We want to navigate into position to add the next square. Okay, the first 2 squares of spine 1 are in place. We're going to cross over through this bead, go down through this bead, okay, cross over through this bead. All right, can you see? Go down through this bead, just 1. Fix the thread when it catches, okay, as always. And now we're going to add 1 bead, because we're forming the 3rd square in spine 1. Okay, how do we form that square? If you're confused, tell yourself that you're only forming squares. Humans have been friends with squares for like millennia, so this is really easy. You can also play the game of ask the beads. When you're not sure, situate the bead you think you should add and see if you're right, okay? See what the beads tell you, because the beads never lie, all right? So that's playing the game of ask the beads. Great. Okay, so we formed this square. We need to tighten it. Awesome. Okay. Now we've got to navigate downward, over, and down so that we can add the next square. All right. Do what comes naturally to navigate down into the next position. Take every chance you can to reinforce or to reinforce the beads you've been adding. Okay. All right, where are we? We want to go over, excuse me, through this bead here, the one we just added, and turn and go down through this bead here. All right. Did I get just one? Yeah, I did. Okay, add one bead. Whoop. Play ask the beads. Where should this go? It should go right here. It should go, the needle next will go up through this bead here to create another perfect square. All right. What comes next? We navigate over, around, and through to create the next square. Okay. Again, there is no set, way to do this. The best way is the way that works for you and the one that keeps reinforcing beads you've already been through. Okay. Now what are we going to do? We're going to cross over through the spine bead we just added. Okay. Rotate. Go down through this bead here. Whoop. Okay. And add the next spine bead. And you see how the structure is really changing shape here? It used to be that these were all three, nicely aligned, and now these two are lining up together and forming a different shape. All right. So again, we're just creating squares. So do what makes sense to create a square. Cross over. Go down, navigate down. All right, whoop. Cross over again. Go down. See how fast you can get going? Now, we're going to make the final square in the top of spine 1, what I call the northern hemisphere of spine 1. And you'll see what I mean in the next couple minutes. Couple seconds, actually. All right, put this down through here. Go over here, maybe do a little tiny bit of reinforcing to make sure that this last square of spine 1 is truly tight, well stitched. What? Okay, and go down through here. Now, you can kind of hold your Zahah together, right? And see what remains. This is the northern hemisphere here. Okay, this, and this. As I'm holding the structure, this is the northern hemisphere that we're looking at. Flip it over like this. Fold it up like this. And then stitching these spines together creates the southern hemisphere. Okay? All you need to know at this point is that you have two options here. You can navigate from here over to here, over to here, or add a new thread and start stitching the top of spine 2 and then go to the top of spine 3, or the northern hemisphere. Or you can just do what I'm going to do, which is fold this down like this, okay, and stitch the southern hemisphere of spine 1. Why not? Your thread's already in that place. It seems like the most efficient thing. Okay, so we're going to go down through this bead here. All right. pinch it back together. And what do you see? You're almost being invited to know where to add the next bead, okay? Because again, you're only forming squares. That's it. All right, go up through this bead here, okay? And pull. And great. We have started our southern hemisphere of spine 1. All right, and the rest is going to come very naturally to you because all you're doing is forming squares. Not really cubes, but squares, okay? And you can choose to reinforce each square as you're going or reinforce them after. You know, I guess I'm going to reinforce mine after. Okay, add another bead. Where does it want to go? Right here to create the second square in the southern hemisphere of spine 1. There we go. Go over through this. We're going to navigate into position to create the next square. All right. Add another bead. Oops, excuse me. First we have to cross over. And we have to navigate further down, don't we? I'm going to open this so you can see. Add one bead. Create the next square. Put the bead in position. See where you should go. Clearly you should go up through this one here. All right. All right, go over. And we're just going to quickly finish the zipping up here. And then spine 1 will be done. Okay. Okay, isn't this cool? I think it's very cool. And the structure comes to us from beadworkers in China. I don't know who they are, but I found a plastic bead ornament in, I forget where it was, which city, but I have notes somewhere. And I brought it home and reverse engineered it. And this is what came out, right? Originally I called it the kite structure because to me, it resembled a kite, and the Chinese like to fly kites. But then I named it after a famous Iraqi-British architect woman named Zahah Hadid. And you know, that name just feels right for this technique. And she has, Zahah Hadid, before her death, did design buildings with roof lines that remind me very much of a Zahah structure. It's like she was thinking along the same lines that the Chinese beadworkers were. All right, we're almost done with the southern hemisphere of spine 1. Here it is. And now your job is just to go on and do spines 2 and 3, okay? Now, when you finish, I'm not going to show that to you because I know you can do it on your own. When all 3 spines are completely in place, what are you going to be left with? You're going to have a 3-bead south pole, okay? A 3-bead southern Arctic circle. And it's going to be a triangle, beaded triangle. You're just going to stitch around and around until your southern pole, your south pole, is in good shape. All right, so let's look at what we've done here. We've stitched the entire spine 1, okay? And we have 2 spines left to go. We can pinch the structure together and see what it's going to be like. It's going to be like a Zahah. As you continue Stitching spines 2 and 3, what you'll find is that the faces may curve in a little, just a little. See, like this one does. See how it kind of curves in? I love that. I think this, you know, kind of gentle curve is beautiful and adds a lot to this structure. Could you figure out how to make it without a curve? Yeah, probably. Yeah, please go right ahead. But anyway, that if it completes this tutorial, I welcome your comments and your suggestions. I hope my videos are getting clearer to see. And thanks for stopping by. Thank you for taking this tutorial. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more encouraged I get, the more videos I make. And I have so many cool structures to show you yet that have never been published in the West, as far as I know, and I think that's correct. All right, happy beading, happy Zahah. See you soon. Thanks. Okay, last but not least, reinforcing the spines. Now, as you can see, I've zipped up all of the spines here. And this is fine. You know, this Zahah is fine. But since I have for many years made these structures for sale as earrings and pendants and stuff like that, even brooches, I have wanted to go back in and reinforce each spine carefully. And it's slow going because the beads are already partially full of thread, okay? But I find that when I do reinforce each spine, you know, slowly, carefully, it makes a much better structure. It makes a much nicer, more durable structure. Because keep in mind, if you're making these for other people to wear, you know, they're going to handle them, put them on, take them off, whatever, multiple times. And thus, it's just nicer if you reinforce the spines, okay? Yeah, but you don't have to, all right? So there we have it, our Zahah completely zipped up and pretty much ready to wear. All right, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. The more subscribers I get, the more encouraged I feel, the more videos I make. All right, have fun, happy beading. See you soon.